live with Maccabeus Everyday Survival. And as many of you know, if you've been watching and paying any bit of attention, we've had a huge natural disaster in the Southeast. So we're here to just kind of discuss a little bit of that, maybe what's going on in the news, and talk about what if that were to happen in a post shit hit the fan scenario. So, Maccabeus, what's going on, man?
Well, not much. Just getting woke up. I was up kind of late last night with the live stream over at Hutch's and moving kind of slow. I'm getting there this morning though.
Yeah, same story. It's been a long week for me, and definitely slept later than normal today.
Yeah. I had thought about this several weeks ago. Me and you had talked about it, about a big disaster hitting after a collapse. And like Yellowstone is what I was thinking, something like Yellowstone or the New Madrid earthquake. And, me and you had discussed it some. And then this thing happened in Appalachia. And it's something that I think people ought to be planning for, 8-10 months after the grid goes down, or a total collapse of society. Something like this happens, and how people should be preparing to head up that direction, because right now you do have some kind of limited support up in Appalachia. There are other Americans coming in trying to get you out, but if the grid was down, you're pretty much on your own.
Right. And at that point, skills is going to be what's going to rule the day. I mean,
Yeah.
because you're going to have to scrape up a living off the land until people get there. If anybody does come, in a shit hit the fan scenario, there isn't anybody coming. So it's kind of like you need to have caches and hope that those don't get destroyed to some degree. But you're going to have them spread out enough that maybe one area is going to be safe from what could happen. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. And
And
it was, aside from this disaster in Appalachia, if it was something like Yellowstone here where I'm at, I would likely be having to bug out of this area just because of the ash fall. That's my overall plan, because from the old maps, like over here at the Nebraska line, there was 4 foot of ash last time Yellowstone blew. So that's going to be a lot of ash in the air, and a filtration system. I don't have an adequate filtration system to keep air purified long enough to sustain me and dog. And at some point in time, your filtration system's going to break down, so you're just going to die from the inhaling all the ash. Your vehicles aren't going to run because your breather's going to plug up. I mean, just
oh
continually.
yeah,
You know,
well, and that stuff's so fun. There. I mean, every kind of filter system you can think of is just going to plug up. I mean, it would be a limited lifespan on any of those kind of filters and things like that. I mean, no
yeah,
doubt. And just yeah, my immediate thought is just the water table is going to be completely destroyed for years if that
yeah,
happens. Yeah, that the idea of Yellowstone blowing its top is probably one of the worst. I mean, it's the equivalent of a nuke, just a natural disaster the size of a nuke. As far as things being unable to grow, the water being poisoned, all that stuff, you would just have to relocate. You'd just be lucky that you weren't fighting radiation at that time, too.
yeah. Well, and then you got your nuclear power plants. If anything ever bad goes down, especially if the grid goes down, the nuclear power plants are already suspect at that time because of the cooling rods and all that. And that they say that's one of the biggest threats that we'll have, is the nuclear power plants melting down. And
Yeah.
there's a whole lot of other disasters aside from a collapse that a person's got to be prepared for. That it don't just stop with the collapse of a society, because all this other shit's going to still be there. And I want to say hi to everybody in chat. See a lot of people in there saying hi to us, both of us, and
Yeah, I'm
good to see
bad.
you.
This is my first live stream, so if I'm ignoring the chat, I'm sorry. This is the
This
first.
is the first time I've been able to see the chat. Usually I can't see the chat on a live stream. This setup's a little bit different than StreamYard, so I can at least see the chat.
We got Alpha and Omega Survival Supply. He's one of my OG commenters. I always appreciate you. We got Hutch in here. We got Last Huntsman Outdoors. We still need to hook up, man. Uh, Last Huntsman, talking to you, buddy.
There's Rabbit. That's another Missourian.
Rabid.
Metal Spawn. That's Metal for Breakfast, kid.
Cool. Frontier Survival, what's up?
Suzuki,
Suzuki, I've seen him around a little bit. What's up, Suzuki?
Camo Carl. Camo
Blue,
Carl's got Camo Carl does a lot of uh oh my mind military surplus stuff. He's rebuilding I don't remember the number. It's a like a Dodge truck, like a communication truck with the box on the back and stuff. And
yeah,
he's got some pretty cool stuff. He's actually a very knowledgeable man about a lot of things, especially in the military surplus side of things. That's pretty
right.
amazing.
Yeah, any of you guys that's got actual channels, if you hang on to the end of the stream, like comment after the stream's over so I can find you and I'll sub you out. I'll sub to your channel because I'm always looking for something new and trying to network. So yeah, if you got a channel that you're putting content out for sure, leave a comment in just a regular post live comment section so I can find you.
That's just said Silverbacks from Missouri. That's
Silverback.
one of my goals is I've got a lot of Missouri people on my channel, and that's one of my goals. And this ties back into the live stream from last night with the co-op, which could tie into what we're getting ready to talk about today. But bringing people in Missouri together into a network because we're
Right.
all going to, even if it's like Hutch was saying with in a 250-mile radius, all them 250-mile radiuses start overlapping, and
Right.
an exchange of goods between people. Like I done a video here several a few months ago about my rabbits and raising cabbage for them, and I'd let some cabbage go back so it could come back to seed net for next year.
Yeah.
And then I find out that rabbits love cabbage, but it's not really any great nutritional value to them, and it's kind of like munchy food. And so what I'm planning now, I'm going to end up with all these cabbage seeds. I'm making a deal with another fella to take an acre of land and plant nothing but cabbage on it, harvest that cabbage, and then do like a co-op thing where to trade out to other people. Excuse me, sorry, and or take to a farmer's market, something like that to generate an extra income.
Hey, that's awesome. And honestly, being on a diet, man, cabbage is a lifesaver. You can make some just good food out of cabbage. Rather than just even feeding it to rabbits and stuff like that. A guy can make a hellacious meal out of some cabbage and some deer meat or whatever.
Yeah.
That
Oh, the
idea
Irish.
would come in so handy if it was basically like kind of like you talked about, like everybody's got their own little area of operation, but once you start filling in those gaps of people cooperating, you've almost got like a mesh network across the state if you can do it regionally, kind of like you was discussing. And if it got big enough that people could like actually make a living being a courier for some of those trades, man, that'd be
Yeah.
crazy. It'd be cool. And it'd definitely be good for a post collapse deal.
Yeah. Well, that's kind of my overall goal with a co-op in my mind is whether we completely collapse or go dystopian, a lot of stuff is going to become unavailable to us without, say, a permit or a tax card. Okay, you gotta get file for this card to go and buy groceries type thing. You know what I mean? A government controlled setup. That's
Right.
where having a network of people where you can still get all your goods that you need. Whether it's metal work or food or um, you know. Somebody might specialize in building water filters or grain mills or something. By that time, you see what I'm
Right.
saying?
Yeah. But I mean, like you're saying, it would basically be like, if the government was to take control of the food supply and the monetary system to that degree, I mean, it'd be like, like all of us get pissed off watching a dairy farmer get knocked over by a SWAT team, but then it'd basically be that going on, but just everything else that wasn't part of the system.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I think it could very easily go back to just like with the moonshiners and the ridge runners, type thing, but with food and goods. You'll have to have certain routes where they're not going to be doing road checks, the back roads, and say I wanted to travel down to your place, I would need to know all the back roads and stuff to get to your place or wherever we're going to meet up, type thing, just so that we can exchange goods.
Right. And honestly, this is something I need to work on, is just having like a good backstock of maps. Like for me, I'm kind of in the southwest corner, so I would probably need mostly at least a good set of maps for all of Missouri and the adjacent corners of each of these states that are around me. You
Yeah.
know what I That's something I probably need to work on, is just getting quality maps and like laminating them and just having that put back to where you've got that resource, on file. It's not you're depending on a GPS, because all that stuff's gonna have to go away.
Yeah, in my bag, I carry a Missouri map. These are the old road maps, like you used to be able to buy. I don't even know if you can still buy them. Some of them are a little bit dated, but I got Missouri, Arkansas, Oklahoma, Kansas, and Iowa that I keep in my bag just in case I ever have to, be out. And
It's my kid.
that's all right.
Hey, baby, go. We're
If
live.
I'm
Okay.
if I'm getting too sidetracked off the main conversation, just let me know.
No, honestly, I'm just more likely to get sidetracked with my kid coming in here and forget everything I was saying. So that's my problem. Uh, let's see what's going on in these comments again, real quick, and then I guess we should probably discuss the rollout of the help going on down there in the southeast. I mean, from what I've seen, and granted, I haven't confirmed any of this, but it looks to me like there's a lot of talk that like FEMA is trying to confiscate stuff and
Yeah,
blocking people who would go in there and try to help.
yeah,
Not not good, but it is exactly what I would expect from socialism.
yeah.
I'm
And,
not
and
surprised. I'm pissed off, but I'm not surprised.
and 30, 40, 50 years ago, they would have already had the Army Corps of Engineers and, like the Seabees and stuff like in there already clearing these roads and building new roads back up into the mountains to get to people. They'd have been bringing in air support, them hills be full of Black Hawks rescuing people out there. And they government now just don't give two fucks about anybody. They got to, I think the election's part of the agenda. And I think the lithium is probably part, and the quartz or whatever, I think is part of the agenda.
Right. Well, I mean, if they can wipe off a bunch of election precincts off the map in deep red states, well, that's a hell of a favor to the America Burn Again campaign of Tim Walz, and that's what
Make
it is.
America.
I mean, for
Yeah,
real. Tim
that's
Walz
exactly what it is.
doesn't speak to me. I can't stand even look at him. Let's see here. But yeah, I don't know the lithium thing. I know there's some up north, but at the same time, if the government can go in and get a bunch of people to sign over their land through FEMA, with
Yeah,
those backworded, fine print type of deals, when they take some sort of settlement from FEMA for something, and then all of a sudden their land's no longer their land for the price of whatever cheap bullshit they got from FEMA. Dude, it looks like the same thing that happened in Hawaii is
yeah,
happening in red states right now, and they're using one hell of a disaster to do it.
yeah. Hutch
I mean,
just pointed out that the local courthouse has county maps, shows everything, topo, creeks, and gravel. That is a good resource for getting maps as your courthouse.
yeah, and I know that. I just need to get off my ass and go do that. There's a bunch of other things I keep focusing on. But yeah, I do need to go get some good quality maps down there. Let's see what's going on here. Looking at the chat here. Pretty sure I said hi to Hutch. What's up, Hutch? Grandma Nana, what's up? I'm a bit ADD, so I stop talking when I'm scrolling.
That's okay.
But yeah,
Years ago,
go ahead.
no, go ahead.
Oh, I was just thinking out loud. You go ahead, brother.
Years ago, and I've mentioned this before in videos. I had a hog killing, and I was kind of big on the Frugal's forums. It was the largest survivalist patriot gun owner forum on the internet back in the early 2000s, and I was part of the admin. And we done a lot of the networking, get-togethers, meetups, stuff like that. And I had a hog killing for people to come and help process a hog, and kind of get a feel for that. And Joe Fox and Zach Bauer, who are two of the bigger YouTubers now, as far as in this community, they're big into Torah now. Back then, they wasn't into the Torah. They came to the uh, get together, and we stood around in my barn till the wee hours of the morning, discussing stuff. And I brought up uh, the disaster side of things in a shit hit span back then. And I've got a big old rope. It's not a barn rope. It's a military rope for like mountain climbing. I actually have my dumbwaiter set up with it in here, but I've always kept it in my house. And the idea is, if there was ever a massive earthquake, and you know how houses and stuff will sometimes slide down the side of a mountain or fall into a crevice type thing. And I told him that I keep that rope in the house in case something like that happened, that I could still have ropes and stuff in the house to get back out of the 40-foot crevice wherever we've sank to, if there was a massive earthquake. A couple of them thought I was crazy, not Joe Fox, but a couple other guys that were there. But this ties back into having backup plans for disasters after a disaster type thing.
Yeah. Well, and a lot of people right now, I think, just still have the normalcy bias thing. Like there's just things. Oh, that's just too crazy for it to happen. But like with what's gone on in the last 10 years and the things that have happened, the piles of coincidences, whether they be big shootings or natural disasters or whatever, so much of it continues to look manufactured. So I don't like put anything off the table of what could happen
Yeah.
anymore. I really I don't have the greatest outlook for the future on stuff, and I try not to be like a doomer channel, but at the same time, maybe I just keep some of that to myself more than other people do. But like, I don't think that I don't think that there's a path to repair for the country until there's a gigantic collapse. At this point,
Yeah.
do monetary system. They're not going to fix the currency. They're not going to do that. They're going to go authoritarian, and they're going to have us on like some sort of CBDC or some kind of digital currency. That's what they're going to go to.
Yeah.
So like me and my
Well,
wife have been discussing how where because okay, I don't think that a digital currency is any kind of mark of the beast, but at the same time, I believe that it is a precursor to things like that. It's part of the control mechanism to get people to do that type of thing later. So, me and my wife have just been discussing back and forth about like how far into the digital currency thing are we willing to go? We know it's a Trojan horse, kind of like Donald Trump's a bit of a Trojan horse, but like how far do we exist in society before we tell them to get screwed? And that's going to be a hard life after that. Like we're just looking for that break off point, if that makes any
yeah.
sense.
Yeah. Yeah. My breakoff point is as soon as they introduce a cyber currency or anything like that, I'm done. Um, I'm not going to participate in it. You know what I mean? And
I
that's where, back to kind of the co-op. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, I'm just saying I see what you're saying about that. Like that, I was just responding to you about the whole cyber currency deal. Like if they did a digital currency, I would still accept my paycheck from work in that and stuff. But at the same time, I would be still trying to get involved into a barter type system. And there is when they start telling me that I've got to be chipped or linked to something, then we're having problems. You know what I
Uh-huh.
mean? For me, the being implanted with anything is the time to set it off.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna do it, and if that means I get splattered for it, then that's fine. But I'm not going to go any further than getting a digital paycheck. That's for sure.
Yeah. Well, and this ties into the co-op thing that we discussed last night on Hutch's channel. Um, a place to still get your goods so that you're not having to go into that system and use, make yourself vulnerable and a cuck to the whole system, because that's basically what you become when you start having to bend over and bow a knee to a system to stay alive. You're either going to have to do something different, fight, or be a cuck. And
Right.
uh
Yeah.
and
Right.
a co-op, even in a collapse system, okay, like let's use Missouri, okay, and if a Yellowstone went off or the New Madrid, eh, the New Madrid could be really worse next time to where it really just shakes this whole section of the country to pieces. I've even read theories where they anticipate that it could go bad enough that it could cause a continental divide up the Mississippi and into almost like two different continents, and the Mississippi just become like another section of ocean or Great Lake type thing. And having a co-op set up ahead of time is something that's going to help you if the the grid's already collapsed, but then New Madrid goes off or Yellowstone, so you've got a co-op of people where you still got goods, and a network of people to help and shit like that.
Right. Yeah, I mean, just imagine, like, because I do this, like, I'll get any kind of reclaimed wood, or like I'm always scouring like the Facebook marketplace because there's always people giving away, like, what would be like just like a box of like deck screws, all kinds of stuff. You can find so much of this stuff for free on the Facebook
Yeah,
market, and I always go try to gobble it up because eventually it adds up, man. I've got like, this isn't trying to tell everybody what I've got, but I store up construction supplies. You
yeah,
know, if you can take advantage of those things, those are free preps if you can go get them. And
yeah,
if it have something like the New Madrid go off, there's going to be a lot of people that need to repair their homes enough to even just live in it.
yeah,
For or any of that, but just being able to survive a winter with a wood stove in your house that you've patched up a wall that fell off of.
yeah,
You know, a lot of people don't think that that's possible. I mean, we've had such good times here in America. I mean, you don't even hardly see people with like patches on their clothes. In
yeah,
other in other countries, there's people got pairs of pants that's got 2 or 3 patches on them.
yeah.
I mean, I don't know, man. I think that the consumerism has ruined us.
It has. Well, I grew up with patches on my clothes and holy shoes and all that kind of stuff. So I've never strayed too far from that life as far as buying into the whole consumerism. Oh, you got holes in your clothes. Uh, People like that just really irritate me because they're not. I've been a survivalist all these years, so my mindset's completely contrary to society. You know,
Right.
but yeah, the having buckets of screws and nails and any kind of fastener lumber, all this stuff can become not only just for you, but it can become barter items for other people. I've done several of them. Everything is a resource video, and I done one time where I tore down a box spring, and there's a lot of salvageable goods in a box spring, and you end up with a whole panel. It's a wire panel, that top section,
Yeah.
and you take it all out and there's you a panel for your goat pen or a trellis for your grapevine or your berries, or I mean there's so many uses of things. You get a bunch of these little bitty staples where they've stapled the whole thing together.
Yeah.
Those are real handy for building rabbit pens or anything you want. Lumber, there's quite a bit of lumber in one. They're like a 2 by 1 or something, but you can do a lot of stuff with one of them. And the pads, it depends on how nasty it is and whose mattress or box spring it was, obviously. But that insulated pad on there is a damn good pad. If you're happen to be out bugged out somewhere and you don't have any gear left or anything, find you an old box spring, tear it apart, and that insulated pad is one hell of a overcoat, whatever. You can stay warm with it.
Right.
I've done it. I went out here and camped with one.
Yeah. That's pretty cool. I mean, and it's like you said, if a guy even had some bushcraft skills, I mean, you could even build a raised bed off the ground. You could put like heat rocks under and pad your actual sleeping area with it.
Yeah,
There's a lot of uses for stuff, and I think a lot of people are almost like they don't want to repurpose things just because it just isn't the newest product.
yeah.
But man, repurposing is almost an entire school in its own.
Yeah. Hutch pointed out there to check for bed bugs, and that's definitely a thing. Bed bugs has became a new epidemic since in the last 20 years, and a lot of the stuff I've read, the reason why it's became bad again is from all the migrants that have been coming across the border for the last 20, 30 years. They're bringing in new diseases and new strains, and bed bugs is one of the things that's really taken up. And uh, bed bugs can actually live a long time without having a host to eat off of. So it's very possible on an old mattress or an old box spring, laying out there for, I don't remember the time frame, how long they can stay alive, but it's quite a while. That is something you'd have to watch out for, knowing what they look like and the signs that they're there. Because
Right.
you wouldn't want to be tearing something apart and then end up with, bed bugs all over you, and you can't get rid of them because they're in your pack and they're living everywhere on you. You know.
Yeah. Well, and it could open you up to infections and,
Yeah.
just lower your immune system, with just
Yeah.
hits to your. Yeah, yeah. I mean, that's definitely something to think about. It's like a slow drain on your vitality. You get
Yeah.
some parasite living around you.
Yeah, you're already struggling for energy and calories and stuff, and you got all these extras on you sucking shit out of you.
Yeah, that would freaking suck, man.
But I think people need to start exploring these ideas and getting uh, a mindset of what they can do without them. I'm not telling everybody they got to go and start living like some homeless hermit, but uh, it, already have a feel for what you can use because things can go south pretty bad where you end up with none of your fancy or cheap gear. You know.
Right. See, my family, there's we have some property, and there's like an old dump from, like, I would say it was between the 40s and the 60s is when it was an active, like, dump. So there's a whole
Uh,
bunch of metal and stuff out there, glass, and so I've been, like, going out there looking for just usable stuff just for fun. Not that I'm even carting it back to the house, but just seeing what's left out there. And there's a lot of things. If a guy had a pair of tin snips or some stuff like that, or even a bracing bit and some good metal drill bits, you could even fabricate metal without welding per se. If you got
yeah.
and make yourself some usable cook gear out of old, metal appliances and all kinds of stuff like that. Oven racks. I even saw a guy one time. This was another channel, J Null Zero. I don't know if you're familiar with that dude, but he
Uh,
did like a brick underlay with the old. It's like the insert oven for like a modern conventional oven. Built a fire under it and used that as an oven, just using wood heat up under it, elevated with bricks. It's pretty awesome. Even put him a temperature gauge on it, like you would like a smoker or something like that.
uh,
That's pretty cool. So yeah, I
yeah.
mean, I think people ought to do that stuff just for the sake of it. Just figuring out how to recreate something. Pretty cool.
Later, metal spawn.
Take it easy. Thanks for stopping in, Metal Spawn. Here. I wish I was better at reading comments and not just being dead air while I'm scrolling through here. Oh, that's what you get here at Missouri Survival. The best of intentions, lowest production quality.
I, Back to what you were saying earlier, and I'm of the same mindset. The grid goes down and something happens. Skills is where it's at. Uh, Being able to survive and make your own shit and do your own shit because with a collapse and then some big natural disaster happen, we're all on our own. We're basically on our own now almost, but we are definitely on our own.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. And that's kind of why, like, there's the Minuteman community, and then there's like the bushcrafters, and I kind of fancy myself a in between. You need to have a little bit of all of that. You need to be
Yeah,
familiar, efficient with all that stuff. Yeah, you need to
yeah,
be able to shoot a gun, but you don't need a $300 Cry Precision chest rig, or you know what I'm saying, like all this stuff. You just need to be proficient at about everything. You need to know how to not die in the cold. You need to know how to cook and clean an animal. You need to know how to grow food, and you need to know how to defend something if you have to. You know.
Yeah, the
sort of.
whole MacGyver mindset. That and years ago when it was the survivalist community, the survivalist culture before they rebranded into prepper, that was a big concept that got pushed was being able to fabricate and make your own stuff, repair your own stuff. Um, Kind of a MacGyver mindset.
Yeah,
And I don't see it a whole lot anymore in the prepper sphere. And nowadays a lot of it's about pantry hauls and how much you can stack to the rafters. And that's only, if you're living up on the side of the mountain, you can have it stacked clean to the rafters. It ain't gonna do you no good if them rafters ended up down in the deluge that's flowing down the side of the mountain.
right. Yeah, I mean, you can even have a house that doesn't even have, like, you don't even think you're close to a water table or anything like that where you'd be getting flooded or, near a floodplain or anything. But once half the mountain washes out underneath you just from water movement going through all that, the top side comes down sometimes, you
Yeah,
know? Yeah, we're all at the mercy of God at the end of the day. You know what I'm saying? Whatever.
absolutely, absolutely.
We got Foxtrotter. He's a sort of near me guy. I just saw you coming in here. Hey, thanks for stopping in, Foxtrotter 6. Gotta keep your mental shit together. Dude, he's right. Foxtrotter says, most importantly, being able to keep your mental shit together. Skills will get you a long ways, but mental clarity and being able to move forward is what it's going to take. Man, that's true. I mean, if
Yeah,
you've got to have that mental fortitude to push through something.
yeah. Mindset very key.
Yeah, for sure. And I
The
think
ability.
a lot of Americans are soft in that. And
Yeah,
if I was to look at myself a few years ago, I'd say I was kind of soft in that too. Which I guess all of us are at some point trying to better ourselves here. It's not like any of us are sitting around talking about how we've arrived, you know.
yeah, yeah. I've been doing this since '84, and I'm still growing. I'm still learning.
Here we go. I can hear my kid coming. Baby, shh, we're live. Let's see what else we got here. You got any other points about this whole disaster thing down there, Mac?
The one that's going on now.
Yeah, yeah. Like I
Well,
know the.
I
You go ahead.
I'm I'm just really disappointed in our government's lack of response to any of it. Here we are, the greatest nation on the planet, and we've done awesome things, uh, you know, all the way through history, and our government can't even utilize our tax-paid military or nothing to help people down there. It's like they want them to die. That's kind of the feeling I get from it. They just don't care, and they want them to die up there on the mountains.
Well, it's like we've got all the money in the world for Ukraine and Israel,
Yeah,
but have we don't have any more than $750 for Americans that just had a disaster here. That's
yeah,
criminal in my mind.
yeah.
That
It
the people
is.
responsible for that ought to be in orange jumpsuits.
Yeah. Yeah, it's plumb disgraceful. I mean, look at the way we mobilized and handled World War II. That same mindset should be being applied in the Appalachians. There should be just an overpouring flow of American support financed by the government up into the mountains. Just like I was saying a while ago, the Army Corps of Engineers could already be in there. We're 10 days into that event now. And I'm willing to bet 50 years ago, even 30 years ago, the Army Corps of Engineers would already be in there blazing new roads up the side of the mountains.
Right. Well, I mean, even in Hurricane Katrina, at least there was blame. Like George Bush got flamethrowered for like 4 days or a week to get there or something, right? And
Yeah,
now there's really much of that other than people like you and me talking about it on the internet. The news is just totally fine with it.
yeah.
We've got money to waste in Ukraine and Israel right now.
Well, we've lost our media. All of our mainstream media is lost. It's not ours anymore. And Thomas Jefferson said, "When you lose the free press, you're living under tyranny." And basically, the media is our free press. And the only thing we got left as far as free press, and it's under censorship, is guys like us talking about it and trying to make people more aware.
Right. Yeah. And I know a lot of people hate on Alex Jones, but the guy's got a pretty good batting average about a lot of things. And
Yeah,
least he wasn't afraid to say what he thought, even if he had some things where he got wrong. At least somebody was out there saying it and had a big enough platform. But they're trying to destroy that guy too. The Krigler show, yeah. X is the place, man. And if this is actually the legit Krigler show, I like your show, dude. It's freaking sweet. But yeah, Twitter X, yeah. There's a lot of I get a lot of good news off of there because they're at least
Yeah.
Elon's not shutting everybody down completely. You know,
Yeah.
it's definitely come a long way from. I can't forget that. Or I can't remember that guy who was running it. The dude with the beard that was just cucked out to the entire world. Uh, damn it. Jack Dorsey. I think it was Jack Dorsey. Yeah, that fucker.
I've heard his name.
Yeah, I mean, I'd been kicked off Twitter a few times for saying some spicy stuff back during. Yep, Krigler show. Shut the door, baby.
Well, back to what we were saying a little bit ago about mindset. It's good to have plans. It's good to have skills. It's good to have preps. But part of being a survivalist is the ability to adapt to something because all your plans can go to shit. All your preps can go to shit. And, you may have a plan to do this, but you got to be able to adapt to do something completely different and off the wall, and just throw the plan book out the window, you know, and
Right.
fly by the seat of your pants, more or less.
Yep. Because it's going to be that way for a lot of people. Just like I think we was talking about this before we went live, but the people in Appalachia that had a basement full of preps, and the basement's not there anymore. All their preps were gone.
Yeah.
I mean, just imagine the average guy down there in that, even in like North Carolina and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Just the average person that didn't even get their entire home washed away but had to evacuate. Half those
Hi,
people don't even
Papa.
bag. You know
Sorry, I
what I mean?
wasn't trying to interrupt you.
Oh, you're all right.
That's
I was going
Papa's
on.
farm.
It's like Jay Leon.
One thing I've noticed, and it's not like huge on the prepper sphere, but I've seen a couple channels that have actually trashed the people in Appalachia and started making fun of them. Like, why didn't you have better plans? Why didn't you have caches somewhere else? And they very well might have. What happened in that storm? There was no alerts put out before the rain hit. And by the time they start warning people that they need to start thinking about evacuating off the mountains and out of these areas, the rain was already, I mean, in full blow. There was already roads being flooded out. And so a lot of people just got stuck. You can have the best plans in the world, but a lot of us depend on still that system of, the radar and the emergency alerts coming from government or your local officials and stuff. And it's like Palmetto was telling me he lives in Western South Carolina. And when the eye of the storm went across his place, the radar was still showing the storm was moving off west towards Atlanta. The radar didn't even match what was really going on.
Right. Well, yeah, and again, I know that people think this is crazy, but I really do think that there's a lot of fooling with that going on to some
Yeah.
degree. Um, yeah, I don't know, man. I feel like I've always been able to kind of tell what the weather's in general going to do. I mean, I can't say when there's going to be a huge storm come down, but yeah, people probably need to sort of educate themselves a little bit on just being able to see the signs.
Yeah.
We spent most of humanity not having a Doppler weather radar and a news agency, and people somehow were able to escape disaster. That's probably a skill set we need to pick up again. And by the way, I
Yeah.
did see actually I need some wrenches in here. No doubt, brother. I'll probably try to remedy that pretty quick. Seen some nonsense in the chat there, but I don't know, man. How long you thinking you want to go today? I'm coming up blank in my brain here at this point, but
That's up to you.
it's
That's up to you.
still a good discussion.
Well, one of the scenarios that I've always entertained is, you remember the movie, what's it called? The Day After Tomorrow? Something where the big polar freeze just happened like instantaneously. And I don't know that that could actually happen that way, but it's good to have a plan in case something, maybe not that extreme where it happens in just a matter of a couple hours, but over time, you know, say a few months, a certain area, say the northern states, or even here where I'm at in northern Missouri, the poles could shift enough or something that uh, you know it could bring in a suddenly you're in a frozen tundra, that's going to stay frozen for 9 or 10 months out of the year. Your whole plan and your whole life just changed because of a natural disaster.
Right.
Let me grab some coffee.
Okay. Let's look through the chat here. Foxtrotter 6, teach your neighbors, not hunt. Hmm. Yeah, man, you're not wrong. You don't teach your neighbors, they're probably going to be your problem later. That's for sure, and that sucks. But yeah, yeah. If you don't teach your neighbor, it's gonna come back to bite you in the ass. And I need to take that to heart myself. I'm not very good about talking to my neighbors. Maybe I'm a little too hermit like and private.
Yeah, Hutch made a pretty good point there.
Yeah, the weather manipulation. I absolutely believe that that's happening for sure. I think that that is probably a big part of what happened in the southeast right now.
Well, one of the things that I've been criticized in the prepper sphere about is all these other things that I prepare for and have plans for, like an asteroid or a comet or Yellowstone. I have heard preppers that I put value and stock in as far as what they produce and stuff to say, oh, Yellowstone's not ever going to happen. Yeah, that's just crazy. Or an asteroid's not ever going to happen. That's just crazy. And all you got to do is look back through history. In 536, this wasn't an asteroid, but I believe it was a volcano. If you look it up, 536 AD, it'll bring up a bunch of videos and stuff. There was like basically roughly 20, almost say 24 months of almost like winter weather. It was overcast. The sun didn't hardly shine. The vegetation died. The wildlife started disappearing. And it was all, I think they said it was because of a big volcano had erupted and basically blanketed the earth with this cloud of dust. All this stuff has happened so many times in the past. And, the prepper sphere can call me fear porn, doomer, whatever they want. It's not about that. I'm not wanting any of this stuff to happen, but I'm smart enough to see history and know that if it's happened before, it can happen again.
Right.
And I don't care how prosperous we are and how invincible we think we are as Americans, there's a good chance any one of these events that has happened in the past can happen again. And people need to prepare for them kind of things happening after a collapse. When the grid, if the grid goes completely down, EMP, whatever, and then Yellowstone blows or an asteroid hits, or
Right. Well, I feel like we've got far enough out from like a real bad time here in the states that a lot of people just don't have that consciousness now. Like my grandpa was born at the end of the Great Depression, and I even was lucky enough to spend a few years with my great grandmother. So both of them had obviously my great grandmother had a lot more time in the Great Depression as far as life living it, and she didn't throw anything away. Like everything was reusable.
yeah,
Like, and the family used to kind of balk at this, but like if somehow there got to be like some sort of bugs or something in like a flour or sugar or something, she would pick them out and still use it. Like nothing
yeah,
went. It's pretty crazy. And my grandpa, I mean, he'd always kind of taught me, that yeah, things are good now, but they're not always going to be good.
yeah,
And could always squirrel something away.
yeah.
And like, dude, when my grandpa passed away, it's like 2012. I found ammunition caches in the last 2 years and been like, well, holy crap, thanks again, Grandpa,
Yeah.
on the piece of land that he had, where it's just like, it's crazy. I mean, he didn't put out no list anything to find, but it was just crazy that I'm like, I'll be looking through some old trailer parked out in the back part of the property or something, and what do you know? There's an ammo can full of 5.56 stuck in there. Like that
Yeah.
mindset. A lot of people just don't have it anymore. So I'm lucky to have grown up, with family that had been through some times. So it kind of carried over. So that's good. There's a lot of people now that are still trying to, kind of gather their thoughts on the way the world's going. But I've been lucky enough to have family that have been like, yeah, it's not always going to be pretty. You know, it
Yeah.
hasn't always been pretty, and it's not always the sun isn't always shining, bright for tomorrow. So I don't know. People need to squirrel some things back for sure. And just have that mindset of repurposing and all that stuff.
Well, not, I don't mean to change the subject any, but
Oh,
one of the
cool.
things, one of the things that I prepare for in mindset, developing a plan for, is this Apophis asteroid that goes around every 7 years, I think it is. It comes by the Earth, and it
Yeah,
changes the course gets closer and closer to the Earth every time, and I think this is the time it goes by, and it's actually going to come between the moon and the Earth,
I've seen that.
and there's some speculation that the pull of the Earth and all that is going to draw it in closer to us.
Yeah, I'd heard something about that. That like that like this pass through between the moon and the Earth. I didn't spend a whole lot of time on this, but I have looked at it. That it'll be pulled closer in this pass through, and then the next one would hit us. Is the
Yeah,
fear? Yeah.
yeah. And see, in 7 years, we could very well be in a collapsed society completely. You know, so there's something else that could happen. And I mean, if it lands right on top of you, obviously all your plans are for shit anyway. But if it hits over in the Pacific Ocean, there's a good chance us here in Missouri is going to survive, or we at least have our feet on the ground to survive. I read a real good novel years ago. It gets a little racy. It was called After something, Aftermath, maybe. It was on a website called Stories Online, and the context of it was a meteor hits the Pacific Ocean, and of course it vaporizes water and everything, throws all this dust, all this stuff up in the air, which you know o- covers with the earth with a cloud, and rain starts. That's another thing in something like that is it can create an environment where it's just raining all the time, and like during the Civil War. They've done studies, and after all them big battles like Gettysburg, with all that black powder, all the cannons and everything being shot, all that black powder getting in the air actually seeded the clouds and caused it to rain after all them big battles. And the same concept, but in uh, that online novel, um, a big old tidal wave come in and hit the East Coast, and this guy's up in the mountains, and he could see the wave come in and just wiped out California and Oregon and stuff like that, and it's raining and there's mudslides. He's up in the mountains and he starts running across other survivors and stuff. And then he starts finding communities. It's a real good novel, but I think things like that could very well happen. Just because it's an asteroid doesn't mean it's a life-ending event for the Earth or for us. Having the ability to survive 2,000 miles away from where the event happens very important.
Right. I know that this again might be a little bit of a subject jump here, but like you had sent me the video of Joe Fox talking about the terrorist organization that supposedly there's so many of them in the country, and there's at least one that's supposedly in the Ozarks. Have you heard much more on that?
No, I've heard other channels talk about October 7th and 8th. I don't know if they got their start from Joe Fox's video or if they had some other intel. They didn't really say, but seems to be something there that's getting a lot of people worked up.
Yeah, I'm just thinking, it's another one of those deals where people probably ought to have the mindset to have a little extra stuff with them in their vehicle at this point. I mean,
Yeah, I
whether
just
that,
unloaded my
go
I
ahead.
just unloaded my Blazer. My Blazer's my primary bug out and anything vehicle, and it's just packed clear full of gear and stuff, and it stays that way because it may not even be a situation where I got to bug out from here. I could be out at Granddad's or, 30 miles away in another town when something happens. And I may not even be able to come back home for whatever reason. And I got to be able to take everything that's in that vehicle and head out. So I keep my Blazer. It's literally like a moving storage locker, Uh,
Right.
and I got me a new trailer. I showed you the picture of my trailer, didn't I?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I'm going to incorporate that into it too. I got the trailer to help generate an income for me now on some different things I'm going to get into, but I'm going to set it up to where it's a bug out trailer to take with the vehicle. If I could come back home and hook up to my trailer type thing, because I wouldn't have the trailer with me all the time. Or
Right. Yeah, I'm gonna have to get another toolbox for my truck because I had one set up for a while, and when that tree fell, it just I don't know, the lids don't wanna latch anymore because I told you a tree had fallen on my truck. So
yeah,
I've done some measures to, make it look a little bit more appropriate, but it's still a little bit in rough shape, but I don't have to drive it very far but to work, and then, my wife's got a decent vehicle if we really needed to shag ass out of here,
yeah,
and we but, like, I need to get another box for the bed of my truck to just have another setup for a good kit because I took that other one out because if the lids won't stay shut, it's useless. So
yeah,
I got to get that stuff together. But I'm thinking about just throwing me a kit together just in case. I mean, I'd hate to be out in public and like there be some sort of mass attack thing. And I realize that yeah, I'm here in Southwest Missouri, but I don't want to be caught, unarmed. I mean, I carry a pistol and stuff, but with a situation like that, like Joe Fox talking about there being like terrorist type organizations, I'd hate to be somewhere and like need a long gun and not have one.
yeah. But one of the things I used to talk about years ago after 9/11 happened, and that's when the big talk about sleeper cells started up. I don't know if you're old enough to remember that.
Oh yeah.
And I tried to tell people back then, of course, I was paranoid and crazy and everything. These little towns up here, like where I live, this little town here, it's out in the middle of nowhere. There's less than 50 people here, and a terrorist cell of probably 5 or 6 guys could roll up in here at 2 o'clock in the morning and about eliminate this whole town. You go up to the county seat, there's 1,000 people. In the middle of the night, there is no law enforcement on duty, period. And, several guys with intent to do harm could roll up into that town and just start butchering people before most of the town could even get awake. And it's something that, and here we are 23 years later. And this whole concept that I used to try to talk about 20 years ago is now a likely possibility, as far as what people are saying.
Right. Yeah. I mean, it's growing more and more likely. I'm still alive. It's growing more and more likely that something like that's gonna happen.
Yeah,
Hey, we're still alive. I had to go check on my kid. She shut this door, and I didn't want to like
that's
not be
cool.
checking on her. But
That, that's your priority, man, not the live
right,
stream.
right. I just figured I'd get up and check, but he's loud, so I might have to just kind of hop off here pretty soon, just get some stuff done. But
Okay.
we'll go
Yeah,
outside.
whenever you're ready to close it up, just say so.
All right. Well, yeah, I think I'll hop off here now. I need to get her outside to get some activity. She's getting a little excited about wanting to go outside and all that junk. So, hey, chill. I'm gonna finish this up. Yeah, we should totally do this again. This is fun.
Absolutely. I forgot to hit the screen record before we started, so I may go back and screen record it after you post it, and I'll share the link of this to my community so other people can catch it if they didn't get a chance to.
Cool.
And
Yeah, absolutely.
if I get a chance today, I will screen record it and maybe upload it as a video.
All right, I'll send you the thumbnail
Okay.
just so you have it because
Okay.
that
That,
thumbnail always helps engagement anyway. So,
yeah, I've got it. You sent it to me already.
okay,
Yeah.
cool. Yeah,
Yeah.
we
I
should
saved
totally
it.
do this again.
I thought it was a badass picture.
Yeah, I threw that together.
Yeah.
But just I guess we're going to go ahead and end it here. I want to thank everybody in the chat, and I want to thank Mac for coming on. And hopefully, we'll be doing more of these together soon.
Absolutely. Yeah,
All right, man.
absolutely. And thank everybody for coming.
All right, we're going to get off here.
All right. Stay safe, brother.
You too.